Hello, everybody. We are with Ryan Eiler, who stunned the running world at Boston just a few days ago with third American, 15th overall in 2:14:23. To some, it was a bit of a surprise, but not to us at Road Trail Run, as he's been a longtime contributor and reviewer. So, Ryan, congratulations. How are you feeling?
Thanks, Sam. Always good to see you. I'm feeling surprisingly good, actually. The quads took a bit of a beating, but I'd say we're about 3 days out now, and I feel pretty much back to normal. So, two easy shakeout runs the last 2 days just to get the blood flowing, make sure the muscles don't lock up. But yeah, feeling pretty good, other than just super hungry.
Super great. Keep eating. Wonderful, wonderful. Ryan, tell us a little bit about your running background and how you got here. I remember way back, I think we met in 2019, maybe at a Christmas party,
Sounds
and you
right.
had done your maybe your second marathon, 240 at Boston, and you said it was the hardest thing you'd ever done. So how do we get from there to here?
Yeah, I'll say, my running resume definitely is not as stellar as most other folks you talk to. Um, my, memory of that Christmas party in 2019 was a little hazy. I think we were having some fun, but um, I didn't run in college. I went to Penn State, and I definitely was not fast enough to be on that team. Worked in New York for a couple years after that, but in my early 30s, got the entrepreneurial bug and just kind of started running on the side as a hobby, just more for the mental headspace than anything else. And just got the itch back that I had from running just in high school and even before that. So just stacking up mileage brick by brick over the years, I'd say. Getting a little more serious each year. Watching some other guys, Galen Rupp and those folks, really crush it, at the Olympics and whatnot, year after year. And I just started trying harder and stacking up harder and harder workouts. There's honestly, I hate to tell you, but no magic sauce. Just a lot of hard work over there. There's a lot of injuries, a lot of setbacks. Um, but just learning, I listen to Ryan Hall even a lot and his advice. I took a lot from what he said and his training advice, um, and just put a lot of workouts together. And this ended up being my first marathon build of my life where I was not injured. So I
So
think that's
tell us a little bit about some of those because you had if I'm correct a 220 something at the main marathon, then you won in 219 difficult conditions, then you had all in the last couple years really two 218s and then your Olympic trials qualifier in 217. So how did you manage such consistency while injured a lot of the time? And what did you learn? What have you learned in this buildup?
yeah. I mean, even just to reminisce on Boston a little bit, even going back further, 2018, I ran Boston in that hellacious weather, if you remember. Back when I was far less experienced, had no idea of nutrition plan, and that I had to take down carbohydrates during the race and bonked pretty bad and ran 240. But as to your question of the last couple of years, um, a lot of it comes down to nutrition. A lot of it comes down to just knowing when to dial it back a bit, take the easy days easy, as they say, and actually do that and actually stick to it. And, I keep my heart rate under 120 most of those days. Um,
What percentage of the time um, are you training at a lower heart rate of your miles or your days?
I would say it's probably at least half, maybe closer to two-thirds of just easy mileage. I like to call it junk mileage, but it's not. Um, I'd say the big change I made in this last build-up, since I'd be getting injured so much, was that I didn't swing for the fence as much. Previously I'd have a real hard long run. I'd feel sore. I'd take a couple days real easy. And I think it just beat my body up too much. So I said, this time I'm never going to really go to the limit and really hurt myself in workouts. But I did workouts honestly pretty much every other day, I would say. Um,
Oh.
whether it was a fartlek or tempo or interval thresholds, something fairly intense every other day. But again, nothing maximal effort ever. Um, and then every other day in between was an easy double. Maybe 10 miles in the morning on the treadmill and, 4 or 5 in the evening. Again, 7 minute, 650 to 7 minute pace probably. Um, so it was pretty much 50% of the days, at least 50% of the mileage was on the easy side, I would say.
And what kind of mileage did you run in this buildup, and how might it have compared to before?
It was definitely higher this time around. Once I start getting close to about 120 miles a week, personally, it's kind of walking a fine line between injury and fitness. So the last 6 to 8 weeks leading into Boston this time, I'd say I was between 110 and 120 miles a week pretty consistently. And
Wow.
I think just being consistent for me at least is the key to not getting injured. When I start oscillating or going too quick into it, that's when I'm just asking for trouble. So I kept it around there, ate really well. I didn't feel too crappy, to be honest. But again, didn't really swing for the fence on any huge workouts.
And
Um,
you had some challenging times because not only are you working, you told me on your second tech startup, but you had a little one arrive right about when the Olympic trials came. How did you balance everything?
well, I probably got about 5 minutes of leisure time these days. You can't see, but I'm looking at three big screens, my computer set up here right behind you. But yeah, we had our first child in late January. I was hoping to run the trials, but it became clearer and clearer as time progressed that that probably wasn't going to happen. Um, had a bit of a health setback when he was born. I won't bore you with the details there, but everything's all healthy and happy now. But
Great.
yeah, I wasn't about to ditch the family and go down to run in Orlando and get 40th place. Come back home. So I just turned my sights to Boston basically. Once that decision became very clear and very easy. Um, But to be honest, a lot of treadmill running in the mornings. I would get up 5 o'clock, get on the treadmill, and basically run until the little guy kind of woke up and started getting angry, and then pop inside and take over. So it's really hodgepodge, kind of opportunistic training, I guess you could call it, here and there. Whenever he would shut his eyes for a few minutes, I'd pop out for a run on my dusty old treadmill out in the shed, and
Oh,
it
so you
worked well enough.
still I know from running with you occasionally up here in New Hampshire that you don't particularly like the cold. So was the treadmill in the cold shed to boot?
Yeah, I mean, at least the shed is protected from the elements. My hands get so darn cold, but I have it, yeah, out in this old dusty shed. There's no wind chill factor at least, and I can still layer up quite a bit. Um, but it's an old treadmill. It's actually made by Sears Roebuck. I think it's from like the early '90s, and
Oh, geez, we're gonna have to
you'll
get
laugh at
you
it. I actually
something
have to
better.
turn, yeah. I gotta turn some of the lights off and sometimes the TV off to give it enough juice to keep running. Otherwise, it goes too slow.
Cool.
But it serves the purpose. So that, and I'll be honest, my wife is like a hero and just honestly way tougher than I am. And if it weren't for her, I definitely would not have gotten to the start line at Boston this year. So she's a huge part of the equation too.
So, uh, tell us a little bit about also your training. I know you train on the course a lot, and I know that that's really important, I think. And how did that all translate your plan, your some simulations, I guess, on the course to race day? And tell us about race day and what was the experience like, with all the elites and so on and so forth. And guess what? You were right in there at the end.
It was definitely it's my first time in the elite field, and it was definitely a lot of imposter syndrome, I'll be totally honest. You're lining up on the start line against Evans Jabet and Lemma and Katata and you name it, and it just feels like surreal, like, kind of feels like you shouldn't be there. But you make a good point. I think it is really important, Boston, more so than other places, to train on that course, especially miles 16 through 21, coming to the Newton Hills. Everybody talks about it, but you actually got to do it. Um, because it's a course that definitely tempts you to go out too fast. The first half of the race is downhill and you get the adrenaline going, and it's easy to set a half marathon PR and then just be totally punished for it in the second half. Um, and as part of the elite field, that means that you often are running with a group of guys for the first half of the race, probably again close to your half marathon pace. And then you turn on to Comm Ave through the Newton Hills, and everybody's hamstrings start to, blow apart, and it's just chaos. And suddenly you go from ripping in a small group of guys at a pretty quick clip to running by yourself and having to figure it out and just suffer alone for those last, you know, 8 to 10 miles, last 10K at least. So yeah, it's a very interesting race. As for the experience, I came in knowing that the BAA was going to be very organized, very put together, but they blew away even my highest expectations. Honestly, I would call it more of a more of an experience than just a race. They make it so easy for the elites to just show up and think about nothing except for the race, from pre-race communication, water bottle drop off, getting on the buses. They shut the Mass Pike down for us. There wasn't a car on Mass Pike. It was unbelievable. Um, CJ Albertson was sitting in the seat in front of me actually and trying to get some sleep. I think he was on California time, but just being on the bus with all these guys who you've seen run on TV, a surreal experience. And then you get off the bus and there's this massive tent. Everybody's got a yoga mat if they want. They got a table full of bagels, gels, anything you could ask for. It's heated. Um, and then they take your gear bag, bring it back to the finish line for you, bring you out to the start line, let you stride out, let you just kind of take in the atmosphere for a couple minutes, make sure you're all loose, and then I'll never forget that start of the race. I was obviously not lined up at the front. I was probably the second or third deep. Um, but as soon as that gun went off, I'll tell you, I've been skydiving once in my life, and that experience at the start was as close to skydiving as I felt since then. And that those guys, the front runners, took off so fast, it felt like the wind got sucked out of your lungs. And we split, I think, a 4:48 first mile, which,
Yeah.
we kind of expected. But even then, the guys out front had a huge gap on us. They went out just so hot right off the bat. It felt like a 5K
So you told
more
me
than
right
anything.
after the race, because I was able to catch you and you looked
Yeah.
fresh as a daisy. It was unbelievable that I we'd seen your splits as being so consistent. And you told me something kind of neat about what you had to do and why, given your relative age. And what did you tell me?
I mean, I'm an old guy. I'm not going to lie. That's not a secret. I don't have the speed that the other guys have. So I knew the only way I was going to really put down a good time was to try and run as evenly as possible by effort, not necessarily by time, because it's a little bit uneven effort wise between the first and second half, but just to run even effort splits at Boston, which for me is like a 66, 68 kind of pace, first and second half, which is pretty much what we did. I joined the BA group just a couple months before the race, and luckily I have an awesome coach in Mark Carroll, two awesome teammates, Matt McDonald and Thomas Toth, who I ran with during the race, and they are again far wiser and more experienced than I am, and really put together a good plan, and got me comfortable in my head of what we were going to do and how we were going to run. So, I have
Did you
those guys
run
to
with, I
thank.
noticed a picture on your Instagram. Did you run with the guys or what was your kind of plan or were you going
Yeah,
to
we were
run some
together
together?
for, yeah, the first half at least. Yeah. I'd say through mile 14 or 15, I believe, until that first hill. We were running together, kind of just keeping each other relaxed, trying to stay on pace, run that 66. I think we went through in 66:30-ish for the first half, but basically try and avoid, that temptation that I talked about of
Yep.
going out way too hot with the leaders and then paying for it. I mean, I think Lemma ran a 60 flat for the, first half, and that just wasn't in the cards, wasn't the smart thing to do. We figured we'd take it easy, try and get through 15, 16 miles, really relax, and then go hunting, for the remaining miles.
Did you have a goal time in mind?
I mean, Boston's hard with picking a time because you just depends on the weather. But secretly I wanted to break 2:14. I'll be honest with you, and maybe,
Okay. But
but
you got a
top 20
3-minute
is fine with
PR
me.
on the Boston course.
So yeah, I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. Um, top 20 was really the big goal, I think,
Yeah.
in my mind. So I'm totally satisfied with that. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough to try and pick out a time at Boston and hit it, unless the conditions are super ideal.
How about the weather for your group up in the front and towards the
Yeah.
finish? Because it did get really warm for folks a
It
bit
did
later.
get warm. I mean, we had it nice in that we were the first ones to go off, but I definitely felt the heat got a little cotton mouth going towards the end. I'd say the last 3 miles, I really started to feel it. I don't know if it detracted from performance all that much, to be honest. And there wasn't a huge tailwind, but it definitely wasn't a headwind. There was a little bit of a tailwind too. So, I mean, the only possible thing I could ask for was maybe a couple degrees cooler coming down Beacon Street, but honestly, I got nothing to complain about. I've run it a lot worse. So
Cool. And now that Boston is in the rear view mirror, what are you thinking about next?
being a dad for
Okay.
getting
Take it
some calories
easy.
back in. Yeah, I'll take it easy, get some work done here. I'm gonna watch London this weekend. That'll be fun. Probably just log some easier miles around here in Boston. I love running on the Charles River. I might do a couple more local races with BA team. Maybe the USATF Grand Prix around here has been
Mhm.
fun. I did two of those races as a build up for Boston coming in here, and that was good fun. Met some great folks. Um, but probably a fall marathon. I don't know which yet, but it would be fun to mix it up again. Something New York or Chicago or who knows. We'll see. I'll keep you posted. You'll be the first one
Okay.
to know.
And we're at Road Trail Run. We're always looking forward to your wonderful reviews. And
Oh,
so,
thanks.
what about the shoes? You ran in your favorites, I know.
I know. I can't
What
get away
were
from the
they, and
Adidas
how did
Pros.
they go for you?
Yeah, they were great. They were great. I've worn them for the last three marathons I've run, I
So
think.
the Adios Pro 3, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
before that, you had the two, and way back when, I think it was one of your first review shoes, the Adios Pro #1.
That
So
was one of the first super shoes you sent me. Yeah, that's right. The pink ones.
the pink ones.
Yep.
So they suit you well, I guess.
Yeah, they do. I really like the rebound characteristics of that foam. I mean, people will argue me all day on this, but I think they're a little spunkier and a little more energy conserving than Zoom X, but they are a little squirrelier, a little tougher to get to know. Some people don't like the instability, which I totally understand. It's really preference at this point. But yeah, I love the Light Strike Pro. Love what Adidas has done. Love that they haven't changed anything too radically. I am eager to try the Evo 1, which I have not tried yet. Matt McDonald ran on this race, and we were
And
checking
how
him
did they
out.
treat him? How did that compare? He's probably running the Adios Pro 3. What did he?
He has, yeah. He said, I mean, they're scary light. I mean, we're holding them side by side. I mean, the Pro threes are light, but then you put these in your other hand, and it's almost defies physics how light these things are, and they seem like they're not going to hold up. But he likes them. He said there's maybe not as much rebound in the midsole, but all things equal, he said he'd take the
I
Evo
mean,
one.
it's like
Yeah,
3 ounces lighter or more.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He figured that inertia over a marathon has got to be fairly significant, or at least a couple seconds. So he liked the experience in them, I think.
well, we're going to all have to work on getting you a pair.
That's all
They
right.
could, they
I'm
could come
happy with
from
the Pro
multiple
3s.
sources.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm not going to complain about shoes these days.
Yeah. Ryan, well, congratulations. We're all so thrilled and proud of you.
Thanks,
All the
Sam.
runners everywhere in New England, the Road Trail Run folks. And it's a great story that you've persevered. You're not the youngest guy out there. You've continued to
No.
improve. You got a super bit busy life in general, and that you did had such a wonderful, wonderful achievement in race, and you were standing at the end, no question, because I saw you.
Yeah. It was probably just adrenaline, but yeah, I'm a lucky guy. I got a lot of great people to support me, a lot of great people to send me shoes. So I can't thank you and all the other folks in the local community enough for letting me start and run the race. So yeah, I'm a happy guy.
Thank you very much for spending time with us, Ryan.
Yeah, anytime, Sam. Always good seeing you.